Havana, Cuba. The Caribbean sun beat down on a labyrinth of Soviet-era architecture, tropical palms, and the echoes of history. It was late 2016, and in a rare twist, the American flag once again flew over its embassy, in the city symbolizing a fragile thaw after decades of Cold War estrangement. Diplomats moved warily but hopefully. The world watched as two old adversaries attempted to bridge the gap between them. Nobody noticed at first when the headaches began. It was just a few embassy employees, Americans, posted far from home, who shrugged off the symptoms as stress, or perhaps too many late-night mojitos. Some mentioned odd, piercing noises at night, or strange pressure in their skulls. But life in Havana, for an American diplomat, was never simple. Then the complaints multiplied. Austin, a political officer, walked into the consular section one morning, rubbing his temples. "Did you hear that last night?" he asked his colleague Rena, like some kind of metallic screeching. It lasted for minutes. She nodded, dash-weary, wide at describing her own sensation. Intense pain behind her eyes, followed by dizziness and confusion that wouldn't shake. Within weeks, what began as an oddity crystallized into a baffling crisis. At least 24 embassy staff, their spouses, and even Canadian diplomats began reporting similarly strange symptoms, headaches, vertigo, nausea, cognitive problems, strange sounds, all with no clear origin. Rumors raced through diplomatic circles and appeared, in hushed tones, at the Hotel Nacional's stained marble bar. Doctors were at a loss. Initial checkups revealed nothing unusual. But for those affected, the problems were very real. Sudden memory lapses, sleep disrupted by invisible percussion, the sense that their own minds and senses were locked in battle with a threat they couldn't see. Austin's wife, an attorney, found herself struggling to recall words and names she'd once known by heart. Embassy management began shuffling the afflicted out of Cuba quietly, at first, to avoid a political firestorm, and ordered new arrivals to listen for anything strange. As Washington learned the scale of the issue, suspicion and paranoia crept in. The FBI dispatched investigators. The CIA quietly pulled several intelligence staff from the island, worried they were being targeted. In the closed world of diplomatic security, nothing felt like coincidence. Was it a new surveillance technology, backfiring? An exotic weapon, cooked up by Cuban security services, or perhaps by a third nation, exploiting the fraught relationship between Havana and Washington? Russian intelligence officers, long a fixture in the Cuban capital, were eyed with particular suspicion. Media reports soon reached the public, their headlines ominous. U.S. diplomats attacked by mysterious sonic weapons in Havana. Theories flourished. Ultrasound beams, microwave radiation. The Havana Syndrome, as it became known, took on a second life in cable news and diplomatic chatter. By mid-2017, the U.S. scaled down its embassy staff and expelled 2 Cuban diplomats from Washington in protest. Official statements described the events as health attacks. But what sort of attacks, and why, nobody could say. One by one, the afflicted returned home for treatment, but the mystery deepened. Exams at the University of Pennsylvania revealed persistent injuries, white matter changes in the brain, loss of balance, hearing problems. But when outside experts assessed the data, consensus fell apart. Some suspected mass psychogenic illness, psychosomatic reactions fueled by fear and rumor. Others pointed to the clustering of symptoms, the timing, and the fact that some brain changes appeared genuine under MRI scans. Meanwhile, in Havana, daily life rolled on. Tourists snapped photos on the Cubans' crowded bodegas for rationed bread, and the embassy, now half deserted, became an ominous outpost. At night, those still stationed there sometimes listened for the worry, chirping, inexplicable noises, noting any sign of pain or pressure, never sure if danger was real or imagined. As the months passed, cases began to emerge far beyond Cuba. Staff at the U.S. consulate in Guangzhou, China, reported similar symptoms. Sporadic reports surfaced in Moscow, Vienna, even Washington, D.C., though none were conclusively linked. The world's intelligence agencies watched closely as the mystery ballooned, unsure whether it signaled a terrifying new frontier in espionage or a ghost story born of stress and suspicion. Years later, the Havana Syndrome remains unsolved. Medical journals puzzle over the neurological damage, while politicians trade accusations from podiums. Was it a weapon, an environmental toxin, or something else entirely? In the quiet corridors of embassies worldwide, diplomats began to adopt new routines. Wary of new assignments, alert to every sound, and acutely aware that in the shadowy world of intelligence and diplomacy, the line between fact and fear can sometimes blur beyond recognition. The truth behind the Havana embassy attacks may never be fully known. But for those who experienced it, diplomats and their families uprooted overnight, their sense of safety shattered. The scars, both visible and invisible, endure. And for the world's powers, the question lingers. In an age of sophistication and secrecy, can anything truly remain a mystery?